a new camera angle.
New
So,
angle.
yeah.
Don't even.
Interesting. Okay, we'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Morning, everyone. Welcome to the June 13th meeting of the Board of County Commissioners. My name is Shelley Bueller, and I have the honor of serving as chair of the commission alongside Commissioner Bob Archer and Commissioner Kevin Cook.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Madam Clerk, the first item, please.
First item today is under proclamations, presentations, recognition of Dinah Pennington upon her retirement.
You want to come on up? Commissioners, you can join me or whatever you want to do. You don't have to. I'm going to serve another couple of years? No. Well, today marks the end of 39 years of county service in total, correct?
38 and a half, actually.
Well, we rounded it up to 39.
It's on the paper.
But congratulations, and thank you for, you've always been very straightforward. I know I've had an opportunity to work with you a little bit longer, and Commissioner Cook or Archer, but I've always appreciated your straightforwardness and your passion for community corrections. So I'll read this though as well. In grateful recognition and appreciation to Dinah Pennington, Shawnee County Community Corrections, for 39 years, December 5th, 1974 to June 14th, 2015. Outstanding and dedicated service to Shawnee County and its citizens, and it's presented by all of us. So, thank you. You have your daughter here and some of your staff as well, so if you want to bring them up, or whatever you want to do.
You want to come up?
It's all about you, right? All about you.
My daughter, Deb's here. Thank you for coming. She worked second shift yesterday, so it was a lot to ask her to come.
Anything else you want to say?
Well, the opportunity that Shawnee County gave me back in 1974, I mean, it's just been an incredible experience. And I want to thank my coworkers at Community Corrections, and we work hard, but we always had fun too. Well, not always, but had fun when we could. And I want to thank the commissioners and all the departments. I think Shawnee County has a reputation for being professional and efficient and working well together. And that will continue, I'm sure.
And there is a reception on Friday tomorrow.
Yeah, at 1
o'clock at that community corrections. So hopefully you can make it over there to wish her congratulations and good luck in person. So congratulations again. Give you just a little bit of time to move on if you want to. Thanks, Jean.
Okay. Item 2, unfinished business. Number 1, consider consider approval of request for payment of invoices from the diversion fund. District Attorney.
And is a member of the District Attorney's Office here, or Commissioner Archer, did you have an opportunity to speak with them?
I spoke to the District Attorney at length yesterday, and we discussed our views on this, and the District Attorney agreed to continue to provide the invoices, and they would be posted online with the agenda. Subject to, on occasion, there would have to be information that was blanked out, confidential information, And we basically agreed that we wanted as much transparency in operations as we could get, subject to some confidentiality. So, and his office provided a copy of the invoices that we discussed at Monday's meeting. So, given that, I'll make a motion to approve the request.
Second.
So motion by Commissioner Archer, second by Commissioner Cook. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries 3-0. Next item, please.
Item 3, consent agenda.
Are there questions or a motion on the consent agenda?
Motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Cook,
Second.
second by Commissioner Archer. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries 3-0.
Item 4, new business. Item A, County Clerk, number 1, consider all voucher payments.
Madam Chair, this morning we have one set of vouchers dated June 12th, 2013 in the amount of $600,909.72. Motion to approve the vouchers.
Thank you.
Second.
So motion by Commissioner Archer, second by Commissioner Cook. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries 3-0.
Item A2, consider correction orders.
Move approval.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Archer. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries 3-0.
Item B, information technology. Number 1, consider authorization and execution of contract C306-2013 with ASG Software Solutions for support and maintenance services for the Customer Information Control System Viral Storage Extended System on the mainframe at a total amount of $13,222.80.
Good morning, Commissioners. Pat Oblander with the Information Technology Department. The item before you is just a maintenance renewal for a piece of software that we run on the mainframe system that allows us to manage the environment under which a lot of the systems that we're running are monitored. I think we pretty well listed out all of the features that it provides for us in the memo. If you have any other questions, we'd be happy to answer those.
Motion. Oh,
I do have a question. Pat, I know you definitely understand this topic better than I do, but this is for a total year then? Because I know you've been doing some work in this area and potential changes coming up.
Yes.
So is this for an entire year?
This is for an entire year, yeah.
Did we anticipate?
We don't anticipate reducing the need for this within the next year.
Okay.
We will be needing
Okay,
this for the next year,
Okay.
possibly longer. So,
I just wanted to check.
yeah,
and make
we
sure.
are watching that closely to
Okay,
make sure we don't pay
okay.
for anything that we don't need
I
as
appreciate
the
that.
situation changes.
Okay, all right. You were going to make a motion.
I sure
believe.
was.
Okay, sorry, I interrupted you.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the contract as presented.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Archer, second by Commissioner Cook. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries 3-0.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Item C, Parks and Recreation. Number 1, consider approval of request to reconsider bid award for pool chemicals and award the bid to Chembright Inc. at a price of $105 per 50-pound bucket.
Good morning, Commissioners. Randy Luby, Parks and Recreation. Superior Pool Products inadvertently bid a product for wastewater plants instead of a swimming pool. I don't know how they got that. The spec said swimming pools, but so we'd like to cancel that bid and accept the one from Chembright, which was for the exact same amount. We went with Superior Pool because we've done with them before, and we've had other products this year they awarded, so it's easier to stay with the same vendor on a same price. But we called Chembright, and they do have the product, and it is for swim pools, so just asking your approval.
Thanks, Randy. Any questions?
Motion to approve.
There's a motion to approve by Commissioner Cook,
I'll second.
second by Commissioner Archer. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries 3-0.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Item D, elections. Number 1, consider approval of request for out-of-state travel for the election commissioner and deputy election commissioner to attend a conference at an estimated cost of no more than $2,940.
Morning, Commissioners. Andrew Howell with Shawnee County Elections.
Good morning.
Just an explanation. As you know, this 2013 budget was actually not put together by me, and Libby, when she was the election commissioner, actually did attend this. In fact, in 2012 was the president of the organization, so Shawnee County does have a history of attending. But it was not in the budget simply because as the president, there was no cost to Shawnee County. So I'm requesting that myself and the assistant commissioner be allowed to travel to the IACRIOP convention held in Louisville, Kentucky, and it wasn't specifically a budgeted item because, of course, at the time as president, there was no cost to Shawnee County. I do think it's important to attend, and I think we can find those resources within existing budgets so there would be no additional cost to the county. And I expect the cost to be under $2,900 or so. Again, the purpose of this is for us to better understand the existing and anticipated federal requirements for elections. You may have noticed that the president has recently appointed a commission on election administration. We just got word yesterday that they're rearranging the schedule at that conference to accommodate more questions and discussions from the people who've been newly appointed. So I think it's important to be a part of that. It also allows us to gather the cost and capability information on the voting equipment that we're going to need to address at some point in the near future. So any questions, I would be happy to try to answer those.
Thank you, Andrew. Other questions? Commissioner Archer?
And thank you, Andrew. And I wrote you an email and told you I would not support sending 2 people to this conference. It's an unbudgeted item. It deals with out-of-state travel, and with the financial challenges that we've got in Shawnee County, I don't think we can afford it. So I will support sending the elections commissioner to the conference, and an estimated cost of no more than $1,470, which is half of the $2,940. So, thank you, Madam Chair.
Any further comments? What was the reason for requesting both?
A couple of things I might know, and if you'd like it, I can hand you kind of a spreadsheet. We did some research and tried to figure out the way to cut the cost significantly. It actually costs a lot more for me to go, and the additional cost for the assistant is actually not that significant. He would have registration costs, but I actually plan to drive there because it's less expensive than the airfare. And of course, the second person can drive at no additional cost. So I think the benefit to the office, as you know, during the election season, quite frankly, he does a lot of things that I can't be there to do, and I think it's important that we're both new enough that we have the information and knowledge about the federal side of elections, and it's really the only chance that we have to attend some training on the federal side of elections. I can give you some numbers if that's helpful. It will cost more than $1,400 just for me, like I said, because we've done the best that we can to try to cut costs as much as possible. And I can give you some numbers if that's helpful, but it will cost more than $1,400 for just me. Because the registration is $400. I can give you some details if you'd like.
What do we have at the state level that would be similar to this, Andrew? Would there be conferences? We
do have a local conference that we attend. It doesn't have as much information available, and it's a lot shorter time frame. But there is one in-state conference that we do attend.
When is that?
That's actually already passed. It was in May. Was that May?
County Clerks.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you.
But just to make sure I understand, there would be additional registration fees for the assistant, plus there would be a per diem or room charges, meals, and so on. The only thing we're really saving is one person driving and another person riding. Well, is that correct?
I'm showing registration's $400. The hotel is $485. But again, I don't know that you have to have 2 separate rooms. And the airfare or the driving costs, like I said, I think driving is a lot less expensive because it's just one cost instead of 2. So for the amount of money that you're spending, I would prefer to have 2 people there just to make sure that we can get a hold of the information because, as you know, we're both fairly new.
Mm-hmm. Further questions?
I would move to approve as presented. I think that the Elections Commissioner has done a good job in trying to keep his costs down. He's taken over. This is a conference he's not had an opportunity to go to before. It was not budgeted as he's presented because, was at no cost prior to, from our prior elections commissioner. But there are times when given the things that are coming up on elections and what's being requested of our elections commissioner, I think this is necessary for both of them to be at, and I do support it.
And I just wanted to say, I too agree that the elections commissioner has done a good job in his new assignment. But I also want to point out that his budget next year is scheduled to go up over $300,000. Next year, he is going to incur thousands of dollars in moving expenses to go into a new office. And then on the horizon on top of that, there's $2.5 million that's proposed to spend on new voting machines. So I think we need to look at every dollar that we spend and reduce it even as much as we can. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Well, I hear both sides, but I'm going to second your motion, Commissioner Cook, and for the full amount. I believe there's nothing more important than voting, and you all have made a dedicated effort to make sure that you continue the great work that Libby did, and so and I would encourage you to get involved in leadership positions, and then that might help in the future with costs as well. So, well, Shawnee County has a history, so you might be looked to, and I would encourage you to do that. So, anyway, there's a second to the motion. All in favor of the motion say aye. Opposed, no.
No.
Motion carries 2-1. Commissioner Archer dissenting. Thank you.
Item E, corrections. Number 1, consider approval of request to post and fill one vacant custodian position for an annual compensation of $30,621, including benefits.
Good morning, Commissioners. Eve Kendall, Shawnee County Department of Corrections. This position, I just want to clarify that we do not pay the custodian $30,000 a year. That's pay and benefits combined.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Other questions?
I'll make a motion to approve the request.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Archer.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Cook. All in favor of the motion say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries 3-0.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Item E2, consider authorization and execution of contract C 307-2013 with the Kansas Juvenile Justice Authority to house juvenile offenders assigned to JJA custody at a rate of $120 per day for each juvenile.
Good morning, Angela McCarty, Department of Corrections. This is just a renewal of our provider agreement that we do annually with the Juvenile Justice Authority. Whenever a juvenile gets placed in JJA custody, they're housed temporarily with us for maybe up to 2 weeks at the most at a rate of $120 per day until the JJA caseworker finds them a placement. So that's what this is for.
Thank you. Questions?
Motion to approve the contract for renewal.
There's a motion to approve by Commissioner
Second.
Cook, second by Commissioner Archer. All in favor of the motion say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries 3-0. Thanks.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Item F, County Councilor. Number 1, presentation and discussion of concealed carry.
Good morning, Commissioners. Rich Eckert, County Councilor. I'm going to pass out my presentation, and I really want the department heads who are not in the courthouse, or if you're representing a department that's not in the courthouse, to have one. It's 19 pages. Obviously, John is not listening to me.
Not in the courthouse.
And I have a real fear of killing trees. So, and if there's leftover copies, if there are citizens here from the public who would like to have that, that's fine too. And I also did something a little bit unusual. I put all my chicken scratchings on this, and then I made copies from that. So you have my notes to the side. They might not mean a lot to you. If not, call me. But as I go through the presentation, it should help. Okay. Anytime I can make John Knight do something, I just enjoy the day.
He's being very helpful.
He is.
He is.
Oddly enough. Commissioners, as you know, House Bill 2052 passed both houses and has been signed by the governor. It goes in effect July 1st, a couple weeks away, and it changes several different laws. And I'm going to go through, and we're only going to go through the parts that apply to us. I'm going to skip parts that apply to like the state capitol or city of Topeka or private employers. So I'm going to skip those parts, but that's contained in here if you want to read it. At the back 3 pages is the legislative summary. Ooh, actually that didn't, is that in your copy? Okay, I have the summary up in my office. So anybody who wants one, just give me a call. It's a little bit easier reading than what this is, but this is more detailed, and this is the way that we're going to have to do it. So, really the part that starts for the Shawnee County is contained in what's called New Section 2, and that's where we're going to start. And the Section 2 kind of says exactly what this is it's that we're now going to allow concealed carry into public buildings. Everything else are the exemptions. So the law starts out by providing that it is now legal to have concealed carry in public buildings. Then we go through the exceptions. And the first one, new Section 2A, provides that you can prohibit it in a state or municipal building if you have adequate security measures to ensure that no weapons are permitted and the building is conspicuously posted. And we do that right now here at Shawnee County Courthouse. Our security measures do meet the definition. Adequate security measures are defined later in this act, and it's basically metal detectors and guards. Okay, so we already do that here. So it doesn't really going to change anything that we do at Shawnee County Courthouse. Everything else changes. And as you see, the law actually breaks our buildings up into different levels. It addresses our, maybe classes is the better word. We have different classes of buildings, and we're going to go through that as the statute goes on. The first problem, though, that we encounter is in Section 2, Paragraph C, and B says that if you contain both public access entrances and these restricted access entrances, and we provide adequate security, we can prohibit the carrying of weapons in the building. Okay, so that's Shawnee County Courthouse. But then you get to C, the very next one, and the C says that no municipality, again, I'm skipping over words that don't apply to us, shall prohibit an employee who is licensed to carry, under the provisions of this act, from carrying them at their workplace, unless the building has adequate security measures and the building is conspicuously posted. The problem comes in D, because D changes that. And D says, again, it shall not be a violation, etc., etc., if the person is licensed and has authority to enter through a restricted access entrance. And to us, that's our east entrance. That's a restricted access. Only 2 types of people can come through that entrance: our employees and delivery people. Our employees have the authority to enter that access. So D seems to indicate that our employees who have concealed carry, and I have at least one in my office, can bring their gun in through restricted access. Now, I've been a member of the County Councilor listserv since its creation about 3 years ago, and nothing has burned the airwaves, so to speak, like subsection D. Multiple counselors have weighed in, a variety of opinions. D seems to conflict with at least 4 different parts of the act. And how I think that most of us are going to read it is that when it says has authority to enter, we're going to define authority such that our employees don't have the authority to bring a gun in. And you'll see later on that there's actually a section that says you have the right to ban hand weapons in a courthouse. So even though D can be read wildly different than at least 4 other provisions, we think that that's the definition that's going to stick for the state of Kansas. So D is kind of this wild part of the statute that's just out there, and it conflicts in other places. And you know, we're not going to be critical of the revisers or the people that draft this, because they literally draft these things on the fly, and then you try to smooth them out through your legislative committees. And this one never seemed to got smoothed out. I think that it was out there, and then it was defended and passed, and some of these things that seem to be just a little bit off, and there's multiple proofreading problems, by the way, commas where you don't need commas and things like that. It just looks like it didn't get proofed. So, but it's law, and we live with it. Now, the next part is E and F. E and F provide that no matter what we do, let weapons in, don't let weapons in, we are immune from lawsuits based upon the acts of people with their hand weapons. Okay? So E and F provide us with state negligence immunity. What it doesn't do is provide us with federal immunity. So if someone can make a due process argument that they've been hurt or lost their life federally due to this, we still have that lawsuit. That's still coming. Let's pray to God it doesn't happen. But we have immunity for state negligence. The state of Kansas is not able to provide us with immunity at the federal level. Okay, G starts dividing our properties up into different classes. And G says that nothing in this act will limit the ability of a corrections facility, jail facility, or a law enforcement agency. So we're thinking about our sheriff's office, and we're thinking about our jail, we're thinking about community corrections, although community corrections is leased space. We don't own that. From carrying a handgun, concealed or unconcealed by any person, into any secure area of the building. Okay? So, the secure area of the sheriff's office, you have to have the fob to unlock the door. They can prohibit hand weapons past that point. Where you have to have a person hit the button to let you in at the jail, you can prohibit weapons at that point. Even though it's lease space at the corrections, this paragraph doesn't say anything about ownership. I think at their front door, or the door where the public can't get to, they can prohibit weapons. H is the section that provides that the chief judge of the judicial district can prohibit weapons basically in the courtrooms or ancillary courtrooms. So think floors 3 and 4 of the Shawnee County Courthouse, think portions of the basement, hand weapons can be banned there. If we come to the point where we have to have a satellite office for a judge, this section will apply there as well. With all that being said, they launch into I. I gives us our timelines, okay? The state has recognized that this will be a drastic change to several of the buildings that various municipalities own. So they provide an I that with a simple letter to the Attorney General, and then we also have to notify the law enforcement agency of the local jurisdiction, and I read that we're going to have to do that to both Topeka Police and Shawnee County Sheriff's Office because we're both in and outside the city limits. We can ask for an exemption of this law until January 1, 2014. And that letter has to come from you, the Board of County Commissioners. No one else can send that. So I do look to you for direction on that very simple letter. I will draft it. If you want it to be sent, you have to direct me to do that. I expect that's going to take a vote of the Board of County Commissioners to do so. But that's a very simple letter. It goes out right after you make a vote one way. Or in a positive fashion, if that's what you do. And that gives us till January 1. And whether or not you're for or against this law, I do think we should take advantage of this, because like I said, we have multiple presentations from the state that are coming so we can get their views on it. Tomorrow I'm attending the county councilors CLE statewide. We're all going to get together and we're going to have a presenter on this topic as well. I would suggest we go ahead and do that. Again, even if you're for this law, just so we can have time to settle in, get some things figured out, and look at what we're going to do. Now, the second part of I has a much bigger exemption, and that one gives us a 4-year exemption for the law, but we have to jump through some steps to get that. And again, the language is spotty here, but we're going to read it that 4 years would start on January 1, 2014. It's not really clear, and you can make an argument it could start on this July 1, but I think the intent was to make it at the end of the first delay. But I said we had to jump through some hoops, so I want to read that. Again, you, the governing body, can exempt a state or municipal building for a period of 4 years by adopting a resolution or drafting a letter that lists the legal description of the building, the reason for the exemption, and you have to include the following statement. Quote, a security plan has been developed for the building being exempted, which supplies adequate security to the occupants of the building and merits the prohibition of the carrying of a concealed handgun and authorized by the Personal and Family Protection Act. That's mandatory. That language has to be in the letter. If the language has to be in the letter, that means we actually have to do what the statement says. So we have basically until January 1 to come up with a security plan. Now, notice that we don't have to implement the plan, but a plan has to be developed. And, of course, as you know, we do have a security council. It was created by Resolution 2011-173. It includes all the buildings of Shawnee County. So we actually have a committee in place that has would seem to be right into their responsibility to do this. So that's a decision you're also going to have to make. That decision does not have to be made today. It doesn't have to be made by January 1, but it does have to be made with sufficient time to give this committee to develop the security plan and for us to give notice to the AG. So I would say let's not delay if that's what you want to do. I'm going to jump down to subsection L. Again, we're now breaking out into a new class. This provides that municipal-owned medical care facilities, as defined by statute, and I'm not going to skip over those, but this part includes our Shawnee County Health Agency and their buildings. It includes adult care homes, which I don't believe we have, community mental health center, indigent health care clinic, which is basically what the Shawnee County Health Agency is. And then it goes on with some other ones. These buildings can get a 4-year exemption simply by stating the reason for the exemption and sending notice to the Kansas Attorney General. So here, we don't need a security plan. Again, that one's a simple letter to the AG, and it gets us the 4 years. And I think that the intent of that is that that gives the legislature time for them to see how the law works and to see whether or not they want to expand it into healthcare facilities. So even though this looks like, well, in 4 years it doesn't matter, you're letting guns in, that's not necessarily true. What it does is it gives the legislature 4 years to think about it and decide how to treat this down the road. So I do think the legislature is going to come back to this section and talk about our health buildings. But for right now, that one's just a simple letter to the AG. And again, it has to come from you, the governing body. So there's a third, if you're keeping track, this is the third issue that I need direction, the county needs direction from the three of you. Okay, we go down to subsection L, and this is our definition section. Usually I skip over these, except for you're going to find out that one of these definitions excludes a whole other class of properties. Again, this is the section that defines the adequate security measures, basically metal detectors and the people to run them. We go down to definition, it's subsection 5A, and it actually defines to us what a municipal building is. And it defines a municipal building as one owned or leased by such public entity. Okay, we lease community corrections, so that's what we're thinking of there. It does not include a building owned by the municipality which is leased by a private entity, whether for profit or nonprofit. Think Kansas Expo Center. Kansas Expo Center is leased to SMG, and they do much more than book buildings. We have leased the actual care of the building to them, and that's key here, because I think now the Kansas Expo Center, SMG gets to make the decision to allow them in if they want. But I do also think they have the ability to not. But here's the thing, SMG makes that decision, not the three of you. And I think we have another facility who would meet that definition, Abbott Community Center. And there might be more, I don't know. I'm not going to stand here and tell you I know the leasehold of every single building that we own. But we have a couple, at least 2 facilities that I'm aware of, that the ownership of those buildings by the lessor ownership's probably not the right word. They'll get to decide. Okay, now I'm going to move on, although I will note in the middle of page 3 is defined by the legislature, that it's still illegal to have, as a concealed carry, a knife longer than 4 inches, so you can't put a steak knife underneath your jacket and walk downtown, but a concealed carry permit for a .350 Chevy Magnum is still fine. Okay, I'm going to skip to what has been marked as page 5. And again, this is one of those sections that would appear to conflict with 2D, but I think it actually overrides 2D. And this one basically reads, it is unlawful to possess with no requirement of a culpable mental state. And that is funny language for you forgot you had your gun on you. You forgot. And that happens. I just heard a story that happened at this very courthouse just 3 or 4 weeks ago. Someone forgot. It is unlawful to possess that weapon, Section 5, within any county courthouse unless authorized by a county resolution. You can pass a resolution to allow guns in the courthouse. However, if you pass no resolution, no guns in the courthouse. Also on this page it's not a violation for this section. This is subsection D. I'm going to skip to 2 for the district attorney and the assistant district attorneys to possess a firearm within any county courthouse and court-related facility, subject to the restrictions of the chief judge. Okay? You don't get any say in that, but the chief judge does for their courtrooms and the ancillary courtrooms. However, you can restrict the district attorney from having handguns if you restrict everybody from having handguns. And by everybody, sworn law enforcement. So if TPD is coming to testify on a case, they can't bring their gun in the courthouse, if you choose. The exception is for the people that we pay to provide security to the courthouse. So if you want to restrict the DA from having guns, all you have to do is restrict everybody. TPD, KBI, FBI, Highway Patrol. Okay? That's a decision you'll have to make. On the next page, one of the definitions makes it very clear that we don't have control over our own parking lots. We control the courthouse. We don't control the parking lot. So our employees, if they have concealed carry, it's perfectly legal for them to bring their gun in their car and park in their assigned parking lot. Okay. Now the next several pages is our Kansas Open Records Act. And the only thing that they changed there, and it doesn't even apply to us, is if you go to page 10, and any public agency that keeps records of who has concealed carry permits, that's not open. That is a closed record. That's what this changes. I think that list is actually contained by the Attorney General. I don't think our Sheriff's Office or Topeka Police Department keeps that list. They might, because you're the ones who do the application. Those aren't open records. And there was, I don't know if you remember seeing this, but there was quite a hullabaloo about this, about one of the northeastern states where the newspaper did make that request, and it was not against state law, and that list of concealed carry permits was turned over to the newspaper, and the newspaper printed it. And it caused quite the firestorm for that jurisdiction. So state of Kansas has decided that's not going to happen here. Skipping to page 12, what they have done, basically what page 12 is if you're a sworn law enforcement officer, the Concealed Carry Act doesn't really apply to you. You can already concealed carry. What they did in subsection H at the bottom of the page is actually add corrections officials to that same list. So if you're a jail guard and through your employment, you've now licensed to carry a hand weapon, you're in the club. That's all that does. We go next to section 9 on the next page, and I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not entirely sure why 9 is needed. We have sufficient direction from everything else that's come forward. Section 9, again, has a part that disagrees with that 2D I was telling you about earlier. But basically, again, our building has to be conspicuously posted with our rules and the regulations adopted by the Attorney General. Here's a section for our Human Resources Department. On the next page, with Section 9, Part B, nothing in the act shall be construed to prevent a public or private employer from restricting or prohibiting by personnel policies persons licensed under this act from carrying a concealed handgun while on the premises of the business or while engaged in the duties of the employment of the employer, except that no employer may prohibit possession of the handgun in the private means of conveyance, your car, your personal car, even if parked on our parking lot. So it looks like, again, and this is why I think we should take our 6 months to study this, it looks like in our personnel policies through our Human Resources Department, we can actually restrict people from taking their guns into their workplace, except for 2D, which I read at the start, which says that they can. So we're going to have to work through that, and I am looking for guidance on this section in that 2D from the people I'm going to be listening to here in the next month. Again, for at least the 4th time, it tells us we have to post our building. I think the next thing that really applies to us is if you go down the page to subsection D, we may permit any employee who is licensed to carry in any building of our institution if they meet our policy requirements. It's just referring back to our personal rules. What it basically is saying is you can allow it if you want to, but that's already been said earlier. And again, it points out the health agency can do that. Subsection E is important because earlier I made a point of saying that if you forgot and just brought your gun into a place where you can't, that continues to be unlawful. However, subsection E, and again, I'm not going to dwell on this because I think this is a section for people like Michael George, the attorney for the sheriff's office, and the district attorney and the AG. It provides that it shall be a violation of this section to carry a concealed handgun in violation of any of these restrictions if the building's posted and we have security. But then it says, any person who violates this section shall not be subject to a criminal penalty, but may be subject to denial to such premises. Yeah, let that one soak in for a little bit. Because right now, if you try to bring a gun into the courthouse, I believe they're charged. And again, that's a statute that says you don't have to have mental culpability. If you accidentally try to bring a gun into the courthouse, somebody's going to jail. Well, that's a different law. This section says now that it's not a crime. So does this section apply to the rest of the Chapter 21 criminal code? I don't know. But fortunately, I'm not the one that has to figure that out. So with that, you have a thumbnail sketch of the law, and as I learn new things in the various places that I'm going, I'll bring them to your attention. But there are 3 things that you have to decide. You don't have to decide them today, but the one that you do have to decide rather quickly is whether or not you want the 6-month deferral. That one we have to have into the AG by July 1. So if you wanted to take up the other 2 later, that's perfectly fine with me, but I would prefer to have some direction today on the 6-month deferral so we can do what we need to do, but we have a couple weeks.
Thank you. So, just by a simple motion, we can then
Authorize
direct you to
Well, I would prefer the letter have your signature, but I'll be glad to draft it,
draft it. Okay.
if that's what you decide.
Well, I think otherwise you can't put really a plan together in 2 weeks. So, I mean, this
Well, that's-
advises us, go ahead.
The 4-year deferral, that one doesn't have to be in by July 1.
Okay.
So we have time to decide that one, and maybe
Okay.
we should take some time on that one.
Right. But this action, clarify for us what we
The
would.
first thing you need to do is decide if you want this law to take effect instead of July 1, 2013, by right of just a letter, you can delay it until January 1, 2014. And again, that does not have to have the security plan. That's the first thing you need to decide.
Okay. Comments?
Yeah, Madam Chair, before we make a motion and approve it to defer until January 1 of 2014, I know there are several people in the audience that have an interest in this topic. I'm wondering if it wouldn't be appropriate to take public comment before we take any action, one way or another.
If you have some comments, you can approach the podium and just state your name and make your comments.
Okay. My name is Earl McIntosh. For full disclosure, I am the Second Amendment Chair for the Kansas Libertarian Party, but I'm not here representing the Libertarian Party. I'm a law-abiding citizen in Shawnee County, a taxpayer, and that is why I'm here. I have to make a comment. I'm sure this gentleman who spoke last is a good guy and truly cares and wants to do his job, but I'm very troubled by his tone and by some of the things he said. For example, when he was talking about employers, he talked about, he used unprofessional comments like wild, drafted on the fly, not proved. I didn't appreciate that. I know the people who wrote this. These are dedicated people, lawyers who wrote this law, people who care about our civil rights, who want to make sure people have the God-given right of self-defense. So there was a veto-proof majority of the legislators voted in favor of this law. A super majority of citizens in the state of Kansas support this law, and to cavalierly run it down, I think, is inappropriate, especially by an administrator. I want to mention a couple other things. Not true. You can conceal the 4-inch requirement on concealed knives. You can. I'm a retired Marine. I have a K-bar, which is over 4 inches. I can conceal that now without a permit and walk down the street with it. Also, because we have law enforcement in here, switchblades, stilettos have all been legal now as of July 1st. And the only reason we banned switchblades is because of the James Dean movie. That's it. They're not unsafe. Let me see what else here. And I didn't have a prepared statement, so I just made some notes. And I'm going to come back to this. Guns can come in the courthouse even if you pass a resolution, because the no gun sign has been decriminalized. So it doesn't write in the law if you accidentally forget. It's just been decriminalized, so there is no crime. The no gun signs mean nothing. And anyway, those no gun signs are a false sense of security. They're not going to prevent a criminal or bad guy from coming in. That makes no sense. No gun zones, more people are killed in no gun zones than anywhere in this country, hands down. All these recent mass shootings were in no gun zones. That's a false sense of security. We call them victim zones because the murderers, malcontents, they all find those zones where they know people are going to be disarmed. They don't go to places where people are armed. But I want to go back to a few things I jotted down. The debate on concealed carry is over. We've had concealed carry in Topeka, Kansas since 2006. In Shawnee County, 0 problems, 0. No arguments that resulted in shootings, no stolen guns off someone's property. I mean, there's absolutely, and we're talking about permit holders here, not non-permit holders, permit holders who have been background checked, vetted, trained, law-abiding citizens, elected officials, judges, men, women, professionals, mothers, fathers. These are the types of people who carry concealed firearms. So we're talking about a different class of people, and we have a right to defend ourselves any place, anywhere. The Constitution is specific. Even the Kansas Constitution was changed 2 years ago by over a 90% vote for citizens, that people have a right to defend themselves and to bear arms. So I want you to take this situation a little more seriously. The debate's over on concealed carry, and that's nationwide, 0 problems. Let me put that 0 problems in perspective. Since 2006, we've had cars. Cars are way more dangerous than guns. We've had thousands of speeding tickets, driving crazy, DUIs, people killed in car wrecks, people injured, but we've had 0 problems with concealed carry with firearms. Why is that? The gentleman before me is making things sound like that this is unsafe, or this is something we need to immediately ban law-abiding citizens from carrying firearms in public buildings, and I don't agree with that. Let's use bicycles. There have been people just recently, 2 little girls were hit with bicycles on the road. That's way more dangerous than concealed carry permit holders. We've had people killed on bikes recently in the past year. 2 little girls went to the hospital, but we've had 0 effect on permit holders with firearms. Every single day, tens of thousands of people, concealed carry permit holders, come from all the state, go through Walmart, go to the movie theaters, go to restaurants, go through our parks. Not a 0 incident, but we have accidents every day here in cars. We have people getting hurt on bikes. There is absolutely no documentation that concealed carry permit holders going in any building, public or private, is unsafe or dangerous or anything. I mean, it's just a ridiculous argument. Please provide some facts before you. I'm asking this body not to wait till January 1st. Let's just allow concealed carry permit holders to carry in non-secure buildings. Like this building has metal detectors, armed guards, so he was right. But the rest of the buildings that are unsecured, let's let law-abiding citizens be able to defend themselves. It's going to cost you guys, or me, taxpayer. I can't believe how, I'm paying more than my fair share. It's unbelievable. We're being destroyed. Our property owners are being destroyed by taxes. It will cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to put armed guards and metal detectors. You're just delaying the inevitable. You're spending time on this when you shouldn't. You should not spend time on this because there's no examples of concealed carry permit holders committing a crime. No examples of concealed carry permit holders making a situation dangerous. I mean, you ask law enforcement, they love concealed carry permit holders. They make the places safer. So if you have armed citizens that are in these buildings, our buildings become safer. So if a spree shooter chose to come into those buildings, they would be the first ones to help. Nobody's more pro-law enforcement than me. I spent 21 years in the Marines. I love law enforcement. All my best friends are law enforcement. But they can't be everywhere at all times. And by the time somebody comes in a building and starts shooting up the place, they'll be there in 20 minutes, and then they'll stand outside and wait to figure out the situation and then go in when several people have already been killed. If a law-abiding citizen would have been there with a firearm, a trained permit holder. You're not talking about unlicensed people, so let's get that distinction clear. They might be able to save lives. Let me just say I have a couple more things. Even if you do exempt yourself till July 1st, I'm a concealed carry permit holder, proud one. I can still come into these buildings because they decriminalized the no gun sign. Now, if I'm going through the building and somebody of authority in that building says, "Hey, I see you're carrying a concealed firearm." "Oh yeah, I am." You need to leave. That's all. That's it. And that's the way it should be. And I do want to state that before 2006, since 1861 to 2006, that's the way it was. If you carried a firearm into a place, they just said, "Hey, take it out to your car. We don't allow firearms in here." And that's the way it's always been. But in order to get concealed carry, they had to put some teeth into the no gun sign, but they found that the no gun signs don't make a difference at all. I mean, it's a false sense of security. A criminal who's bent on hurting people is going to come to these buildings and he's going to start shooting. It doesn't matter. And they're not going to be permit holders because there's no examples of that. So finally, to wrap this up, as a taxpayer, please don't waste time. Spend time on making cars safer or bicycle routes. I mean, this is just a waste of time and taxpayers' money. And I appreciate everything you do. And I know I disagreed with this gentleman here, and I know he's a good person, and I appreciate our law person. Yeah, and thank you. But God gives me the right to defend myself and my family. Nobody else. In America, we're promised liberty, not security. That's the facts. And so don't disarm the people. Let law-abiding citizens take care of themselves. Thank you very much. And I'll be standing for any questions or anything. So
I have none. Thank you for your
you're
comments.
welcome. Thank you.
Anyone else? Anyone else at this time? Are you wanting to make comments? Okay, standing. I'm sorry. I thought you were in line because sometimes people wait in line. There. What's the pleasure of the commission at this time?
Madam Commissioner, in due deference to the comments of Mr. McIntosh, I think that in order for us to have a better plan and perspective, at least as to how this impacts us as a whole county, I would ask for a vote. I would motion the commission to ask that we have an exemption until January of 2014.
Go ahead.
And I'm going to agree. I think we do need some time. I spoke to Earl for quite a while yesterday and told him that he needed to come down and make his case, and I appreciate your doing that, Earl. I appreciate your passion and knowledge about the subject, but I am going to also go with the January 1, 2014 date because I think we do need time to digest it and what we should do as an organization moving forward. So I'll second that motion.
Thank you. And I'm going to agree as well, and I think as you said, Rich, you're attending some other meetings on this item, and the law has been passed, but then it's now our turn to make those decisions, and we want to be informed and go forward with this as far as getting all the information we can, and we appreciate the comments this morning. So there is a motion by Commissioner Cook, second by Commissioner Archer. All in favor of the motion say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries 3-0. With that action, Rich, will you present that on the next, will you just present that to me individually, sign it? You want all three commissioners' signatures on that?
Just the chair.
Okay. So get that to me as soon as possible. All right. And then as far as direction on, I know you were looking for direction on 3 items, but
I'll be reminding you.
yes, I think you will. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Next item, please.
Item G, Commission, number 1, consider canceling the August 8th Commission meeting.
Move approval.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Archer. All in favor of the motion say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries 3-0.
Item 5, Administrative Communications.
Don't leave quite yet. I know you're going to, I know you're upset that we don't have a meeting on Monday. It is, and that's a reminder that we don't have a meeting on Monday, but it is Commissioner Cook's birthday on Monday. So, I think we need to sing happy birthday early.
Here we go.
So.
Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Commissioner Cook. Come on. Happy birthday to you and many more.
Thank you all.
Boy, if we ever need anybody to sing the Star Spangled Banner, take it, Cindy.
Happy birthday
Thank you.
early.
Congratulations.
Go ahead, Randy.
Randy Luby, Parks and Recreation. First of all, I got a call from Gage Bowl. They need their shoes back, Rich. We have a busy weekend coming up here with Parks and Rec. Just wanted to remind everybody there is a press conference tomorrow at the Bettis Sports Complex for announcing the first class of the newly formed Shawnee County Baseball Hall of Fame. You're welcome to attend. It's at 11 o'clock at the Bettis Family Sports Conference or Center. Also, wheat stock at Old Prairie Town will be on Saturday, starting at 10 a.m. going to 9. Great family event with a lot of bluegrass bands playing. And also on Saturday, if you get a chance and haven't ever been out there, the 33rd annual Topeka 10-Man Triathlon is out there, and you'll see some amazing athletes. I think Mr. Locke is participating again. You're not. But anyway, that starts early in the morning. If you're coming out to watch, you might want to get in there around 7:15 because they start blocking off some of the roads. But anyway, thank you.
Reminder, Dover Heritage Days start this weekend, 7 a.m., the pancake breakfast at Shawnee County Fire District number 4. So all are welcome, I am sure. And the Symphony in the Flint Hills is in Fort Riley this weekend as well, so I think we'll have a lot of travelers stopping in Topeka and then heading on to Fort Riley for that. That's a pretty impressive event, so anyway, anything else? Okay.
Item 6, executive session.
Is there a need? If not, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, it is all right.
Where did you get those? Effingham?
Internet.
His school colors.
Is there anything I need to sign?
His high school colors are orange, so.
It's a camera, a different angle. I like it.
I'm sorry I haven't had a chance to come back. I'll just start off. How's everything going? Oh, yeah. Good time to take that over.
Can you guys?
I know. Well, except for a